and or girls. It's Friday afternoon, and that means it's time for Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I'm your host, comedian Greg Romero Wilson, comedian extraordinaire, fantasy football enthusiast. Here you have questions, I have guesses. All these other shows, obviously they're about all the stats, all the facts and the figures and stuff like that. Not this show. Nope. This one's a lot more about my gut feeling and the trends. As a comedian, that's what we really do. We're always looking for trends. We're looking for commonalities. We're looking for things we see going a certain direction. And forgive the lighting. I have the window. This is that time of day where the light's coming right through that window. And even though I have the blinds closed, it creates that perfect little set of dots. Looks like somebody shot up my chest. So, for those of you who are listening to this on the podcast version, the audio version, we're just going to roll right through the games. What's up, nation? We'll see you in a little bit for the poker game, the BLT Classic. You've been able to hold on to Sober October. I've been in that. Actually, for me, let me be honest. For me, I've been very, very good about Sober October. But that doesn't mean I've been perfect about Sober October. Now, if one of the things you guys may notice, Pam, how are you? Good to see you. I only drank on a little bit on Saturday, and then I drank on Sunday. And so but then the rest of the week, I've been very, very good. Although I'm thinking tonight, I think it's time to go ahead and throw a few back on Friday night in honor of the Dirty Birds in Las Vegas, as well as the BLT Classic, because we played poker sober last week, and I got to tell you, it's pretty boring. Now, you're probably looking at this and going, Greg, look, your hat is facing the right direction. You can read the D, and the sign is facing the right direction because I shoot this in selfie mode so that I can talk to you guys. Exactly, that's right, Oldici. It is... Adichie, it is sort of Sober October. A mostly Sober October. So for me, I'm doing... Ed Nation says he's drinking tonight too because he voted. He got his vote in, so he's celebrating. So that is awesome. Pam, it's great to see you. I hope you're loving. I love Hawaii. I've been to Maui 3 or 4 times now. I've been to Honolulu once. I love the islands. It's a beautiful place, and I'm glad that you're able to make it work there. That you've got somewhere to stay. That things are going good. So that's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic news on that front. Now you notice the sign is readable, and because last week someone was like, how come your hat is the right direction and the sign is backwards? And for those of you listening to the audio podcast, is the video version that you can catch on my YouTube at Greg Romero Wilson, and the playlist is the Fantasy Football Show. But I went and got a new sign printed in mirror image. So if you were to see the sign, it's backwards. It's like ambulance. It's printed backwards so that in mirror view, it looks correct. The hat is printed backwards, so it looks correct in the video. So I got it all lined up. We're all ready to go. Week 6. Last week was my first 2-0 weekend. Both my teams won. And I wanted to do a recap, but the games didn't end until Tuesday. And I went into Tuesday down 35 points. But I had 3 players left to play, and those 3 players were Derrick Henry, Stephon Diggs, and Gostkowski. I needed 35, I got 44. So it worked out great, got the big win, but then we get to Wednesday, it's like, do we really want to talk about stuff that happened almost a week ago now? So I let it go, it's gone. I hope you got everybody. Oh, and talk about waiver wire coups. Let me just tell you about this. So there's one of our guys, and right now he's like in Europe. So he's like, well, he's been in our league, he's a comedian, brilliant comedian, Tamar Katan. So he was trying to replace a player, and he dropped Michael Thomas. Now, this is a couple weeks ago. Now, I'm the commissioner of this comedian's league, mind you, so I stepped in, and I was like, no, you cannot drop Michael Thomas. You trade Michael Thomas. And yes, nation, he needed 20 points. He got 19 and a half. It was one of those under 1 point losses, and that's been his whole thing. You and this other guy, Hogs, are having that season. And you know the season I'm talking about. For Nation, it's like he can't catch a break. It's like everything he does, it just seems to get outpointed every single time. Whereas Hogs, he's having that season. I've had this season too, where every week he has the second highest scoring team in the league, but he's playing the team that scores the most. And this has happened to him 4 out of 5 weeks now, where he's the second highest scoring guy. I mean, and I've had those seasons, and you just feel cursed, like it just isn't lining up the right way. But I got 2 wins out of last week. Those players delivered for me. And so by Wednesday, this guy, Tamar, who I love, brilliant comedian, look him up, Tamer, Katan, Kattan. I think it's 2 True Tees. Yeah, check me on that. But... And he won, like, True TV's Comedy Knockout, the World Series of Comedy. Brilliant comedian. So I love having him in the league. But he's in Europe right now. Like, he just got married to some girl that I think is German or Polish or something, or Spanish. Anyways, he's over there, and he's going to be there for a little while because of everything that's going on over here. But he's still in the league. But he's less, like, he gets a lot less of the information. So I think he just looked at Michael Thomas statistically, which really he's only played like 2 quarters of a game this season. And then again, he got knocked out again last year for disciplinary reasons last week. So I think he just saw that, was like, fuck this guy. So the first time he dropped him, I put him back on his team. It was like, you cannot drop this guy. No. I explained to him, you want to trade him, you want to do other things, you don't want to drop him. Then he went and dropped him again. And I was like, okay, fuck it. We talked about this. I told you everything you need to know. Okay? So now it's on you. You want to drop him, that's on you. Mr. What's up? Good to see you there in Vegas. Jason, how are you, my brother? So, okay, so then, all right, so I was worried about, yo, what's up, Primo? Good to see you, Mike. So I was worried. So he dropped Michael Thomas, but he did it like, because he's in Europe, it was basically in the middle of the night here. And I don't think anybody noticed that he'd been dropped. And because he dropped him on Wednesday, we have the 1-day waiver period. So nobody could pick him up on the traditional waiver wire day. So what I did, I gambled putting in no waiver requests on Wednesday, hoping that everyone else filed theirs, and that then on Thursday, Michael Thomas would fall to me. And that's exactly what happened, baby. I got Michael Thomas sitting on my bench now for free. Didn't cost me a thing. Fucking awesome sauce. That's what's happening right now. So now, hey, Songbird, I'm saying all the wrong things here. Okay, so why can I not get that right? Okay, here we go. Let's roll through these games. Let's talk about, and if you have a conundrum about your lineup, a lineup question, players you're waffling back and forth about, please put those into the comments, send that through, and we will discuss all of your matchup conundrums right here. But let's start with the Broncos at the Patriots. Now listen, they're saying that the quarterback's going to be back for the Broncos, and that exponentially changes things because they were awful without him. But with him, they're pretty good. But the Patriots defense is still a very good defensive team. Cam Newton is back. So there's a lot going on that's very exciting. Of course, now my agent calls because I'm in the middle of doing a podcast. So in this one, listen, and I hope you picked up Philip Lindsay. We still don't know if there's going to be any disciplinary action going on with the running back, what's his face, who got in trouble with the DUI this week. I can't remember any names. They're all escaping me right now. I don't know what's happening. I'm all coffeeed up. I'm freaking out. But because of that, you got to monitor this thing all the way up until game time because of the fact that, he may not be allowed to play. And if he isn't allowed to play, then, you definitely want to load up Philip Lindsay into that spot. In terms of the Patriots, Cam Newton, I want to play Cam Newton, but what the real money for Cam Newton is when he runs in those touchdowns. And the last game, they were using Damian Harris, they were using everybody, and he didn't run in those touchdowns. So I'm a little wary about Cam Newton in this one, but having been on COVID, having coming back, he might actually just go off. Okay, Amari Cooper or Tyler Boyd. This is a very tough one, Jason, and I'll tell you why. Because the chemistry doesn't seem to be there between Amari Cooper and the Red Rifle just yet. But they've had a week to work on it. So we don't know what we got. The problem with Tyler Boyd, yes, Joey Burrow's favorite target. He's throwing at that guy night and day. But they're going up against the Colts, which means he's going to be covered by Xavier Rhodes, which means the guy that might be open is probably going to be T. Higgins and maybe even A.J. Green. Dare I say A.J. Green? Because number one coverage is going to be. So that is a very tough conundrum you have right there. But for me, I'm going to say Amari Cooper, slightly better matchup against Arizona. And things, again, having had a week to work with the Red Rifle, I think maybe that we're going to see more of him. Melvin Gordon, thank you, Nation. Melvin Gordon. It's amazing sometimes my brain just won't. I'm not great with names. I'm fine with numbers, not great with names. You can tell me your name, and I can even say it back to you 3 times, and then 5 minutes later, I will have no idea what your fucking name is. But yes, Melvin Gordon, still unclear as to whether or not he's going to play entirely on Sunday. He probably is, but they might offer, hit him with some disciplinary action, and then he's out. So you got to monitor that one up at a game time. Texans versus the Titans. Listen, guys, the only thing that I like about Deshaun Watson in this one is the fact that, oh shit, we have a lot of other things. Oh, AJ Green is hurt. Well, forget about AJ Green then. He's not going to be in there. And, so again, T. Higgins might be the guy to look at because Tyler Boyd's going to have a real problem with Xavier Rhodes all over his ass. Oops. Woo. What is this? Is Claypool for real a starter or just a fluke week, him over Juju? Wow, now that's a great question. And I'll tell you this, okay? And again, with all these things, listen, I love this stuff. I do it for fun. But the reality is, go with your gut. Always go with whoever you really, truly believe in. Now, that being said, every single week we've seen a one-hit wonder. Every week. There's somebody that goes out there and remember Higbee? Remember, every week there's one person, usually tight end. Sometimes, remember Andy Isabella had a 2-touchdown week? We see this over and over again. For me, Juju is the play because he's the guy that's had more consistent looks. He has the longer relationship. He's still a tremendous athlete. I think this is a big rebound week for Juju, and I think Claypool falls back down to earth, but who knows? Maybe Claypool's this exciting new guy that's going to completely take over and make Juju and Deontay Johnson, who a lot of people invested some draft capital into, maybe they fall by the wayside. I don't think so. I think we're going to learn a lot this week. I think he's a one-hit wonder. Going back to Juju. That's what in terms of consistency, I think it's going to swing back towards Juju. And I said this about somebody last week too, and it turned out to be true. I had a lot of things right about last week. Of course AJ Green is hurt, by the way. Of course he's hurt. That's his best play. His best play is getting injured. CeeDee Lamb is still going to put up numbers with a new QB. Well, senior sweatpants. That's a very good question. And that's the thing. It is now a mystery, although it seems like CeeDee Lamb is the through line. Like, even though Dalton was going more towards Gallup, he was still hitting CD. The one he ignored was Amari Cooper. And we've seen this all year where it was Amari and CD and Gallup was the odd man out. We may see that it's Gallup and CD and Amari's the odd man out. But again, they've had a week. Their facility didn't get closed. They've had some time to work on this. So I think we're going to see some production out of Amari Cooper. Maybe not the same way as it was with Dak. I think Gallup is definitely going to come up. But I think CD remains a reliable source of points regardless of who's under center. He seems the one. God of sarcasm. Hello. How are things up in Ottawa? Are you guys wearing jackets already? Are you wearing jackets and scarves and stuff? Because I'm literally still in shorts and t-shirts here in sunny California. Okay, so Texans and Titans. The only thing I like about Deshaun Watson in this one is the fact that I think that the Titans are absolutely going to shut down David Johnson, which of course is annoying to me because I'm playing David Johnson. But hopefully they will short pass it to David Johnson. And David Johnson, if he does anything this week, it's going to be in short passes to the outside. Austin Colby, good to see you. I hope you're wearing those white ankle boots, my man. So I think that's the only way that David Johnson is going to get involved. DJ is going to get involved. So for the Texans, even though we did see that relationship start cooking finally, Emmanuel Sanders and Brandon Cooks finally showed the connection happening last week. And to be honest, I expect those connections to continue. I still like Brandon Cook. I like Will Fuller. I think the Brandon Cook thing helps open up Will Fuller in those deep routes that we've been waiting to see. So I think there's going to be some connection there. I think the stat line for Deshaun Watson here is going to be very similar to last week. I think it's going to be another one of those 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interception kind of games. For the Titans, I mean, listen, the Texans defense, they're 1-4. Clearly their defense, although they're starting to feel themselves. Last week was them getting back in rhythm, but I still like the Titans to have a pretty good day here. Obviously, Derrick Henry. Obviously, Tannehill's rolling with some incredible consistency. I am blown away by the consistency that he's showing this week. this year, honestly, I was expecting him to go back to looking like Tannehill. Because usually you give Tannehill a bunch of money and he starts to suck just like Nick Foles. But he's keeping it together. He's throwing. A.J. Brown looked fantastic. I think you could play A.J. Brown. I think you could play. And Jonnu Smith. I mean, talk about tight ends. And this is one of those things, you can't. Which of these tight ends? Like, if you didn't waste a bunch of draft capital on Kelsey or Kittle or Mark Andrews, which luckily I have Mark Andrews in one league, which honestly, nobody's talking about Mark Andrews, but his consistency is through the roof. I take him right now. To me, he's number one. Oh, he may not have as much scoring because of certain games, but ultimately, I think Mark Andrews' consistency for me has been number one. But Jonnu Smith, I like him in that game. I think you play those Titans. I think Texans, I think you could play Deshaun. If you don't have to play DJ, which I do, don't play DJ. But the other guys, I like Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. One of them is going to go off. I don't know which one, but one of them is going to get the opportunity. So let me see. Freeman this week or Drake? Honestly, though, Freeman has been slowly kind of ratcheting it up every game, but Drake finally caught a little room. Right now, for me, Drake stays, because you have to admit, Chase Edmonds just looks a million times better. And I don't know if it's because they're bringing him in on downs where they're expecting the pass, so the run is more open, whereas they're running Drake straight into a stacked box on first and second down. I don't know what it is, but right now, Chase Edmonds looks a lot better than Kenyon Drake. I would keep Kenyon Drake on the sidelines for now, even though Dallas is a very good matchup for them. Right now, I just see Chase Edmonds doing better than Kenyon Drake. Freeman, on the other hand, he's and he's going to go against Washington, which isn't a bad defense. They are a very good defense, but if anybody's going to have a decent day, for me, it's going to be Devontae Freeman. So, for me, between Freeman and Drake, I'm going Freeman. Turns out A.J. Brown is fetch. Quit trying to make A.J. happen. Listen, A.J. Brown scored that touchdown, which, for managers, when you score early, it's like you can just relax and expect them to get more going. And I feel you can see, I don't know, he looked fantastic. If he's still healthy, I haven't checked the injuries to see if he's gotten injured yet again. But if he's healthy, I think you play the poor guy. I mean, obviously he didn't quite get you over the hump, so I could see where you'd be a little salty about it. But I think A.J. Brown's still a play. And Bears beat the Panthers this week. I think, well, listen, this is the thing. I mean, they should, because of their defense. The Bears' defense is playing lights out. But the Panthers' offense has been playing really great. Teddy Bridgewater's starting to light it up. Robbie Anderson starting to light it up. But obviously you want to play Robbie Anderson if you have him, but you got to temper your expectations because that Bears defense has been fantastic. Same with Mike Davis. Mike Davis, he's playing awesome. He's playing, but again, this Bears defense, they've been winning on defense. It certainly hasn't been on the arm of Nick Foles. But when he does complete a pass, it's definitely to Allen Robinson. So you want to play Allen Robinson. And of course, and everyone keeps going on about Montgomery. He's going to have a big week. This is a big week. I'm going to tell you, I don't think that he does. Not because the opportunity's out there, because Montgomery, he's just not that good. He's just not that. He's fetch. Quit trying to make David Montgomery happen. I thought they should have gone after Le'Veon Bell, but they didn't. Of course, Bell was going with his pick and choosing. Went to the Chiefs. Can't blame the guy for that one. So, but yes, ultimately, I do think the Bears beat the Panthers. Jonathan Mesh, welcome to the show. What's up, buddy? What do you got going on? Who's got the lineup? Waller is better so far. Waller's been very good. But again, not as consistent as Andrews. Andrews, the consistency, the receptions, the touchdowns have been there. Waller had like one super spectacular game. And that's the way I think for me, it's Andrews, Kelsey, Waller, Kittle. In terms of, consistency that you can depend on week after week. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to see, so that when you set your lineup, you're like, oh yeah, I'm keeping this guy in the lineup. Now, and again, yes, okay, so the Lamar thing, what is going on with Lamar Jackson? I mean, we all know what it is. And it's what I said at the beginning of the season, that defenses were going to try to stop him from running and force him to throw the ball. That's exactly what they've done. So they've had to turn to a committee of running backs, including Gus Edwards, who for some reason is getting just as many touches as Mark Ingram, and then they're throwing in a little J.K. Dobbins in there. So listen, the Lamar thing, I don't know that this may be the season he has. And the chemistry kind of, again, not the way it did with Cooks, not the way it did with Emmanuel Sanders, but it started to come around. Last week, we saw a touchdown, we saw more targets, we saw some things. Granted, I'm not playing him this week, but I think and if he could get that chemistry going, that could be the kind of thing that really finally gets Lamar Jackson going. And I agree, Andrews is number one, but statistically, I think he's number 3 in terms of actual fantasy scoring tight ends. I think he's number 3. Let's see what else. Lamar, and here's the thing. Freeman, we got another vote for Freeman there. Cannot start Drake. You're exactly right, Jones. I'm with you on that. Will Justin Herbert finish fantasy in the top 10 QB? Quite possibly. I mean, the kid, I said it from the first game I watched him. I'm like, this kid's got it. I said, play Keenan Allen, because this kid could get the ball to Keenan Allen, and that's all that he did. Obviously, now I think Keenan Allen is injured again, so you might want to pick up Mike Williams. And Mike Williams is a great player. So, but I do think Justin Herbert, quite possibly, but the guy I'm waiting to see is Tua. I wish they would put Tua in. I'm dying to see Tua play. But Justin Herbert, that arm, that accuracy, that ice water in his veins, I think, I don't know if it's top 10, but definitely top 12. So there you go there. What else we got going on here? Here we go. The Panthers are for real. Okay. And I agree, the Panthers are for real, but their defense is not as for real as their offense is, whereas Chicago, their defense is more for real than their offense is. So it's kind of like strength versus weakness on both sides of the ball. That's why I don't believe that David Montgomery is going to have a particularly good game this particular week. But I do think that, hey, Rob, you got to start him. He's banged up, hyperextended his knee. When he can run again, he'll be fine. I'm assuming we're talking about Lamar Jackson, or we might be talking about Kittle. Tough to say. Tim Halpert, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. But again, how did he hyperextend his knee? It's from running. And getting hit. People are expecting it now. They've been game planning for it. They're putting spy on him. He's got a spy on him every single game. And so I don't know. He's got to get that ball loose. He's got to start connecting with his receivers. Boykin, whoever, get it done. Now I remember the names. I'm finally warmed up here a little bit. Browns versus Steelers. Listen, this Steelers defense is for real. You got to know that. Everybody knows it. And that, I think, is going to affect the Browns tremendously in this game. The Browns, listen, Baker Mayfield, first of all, he's banged up, got some kind of a chest injury. And the fact of the matter is he's prone to throwing interceptions. I like the Steelers defense in this game. Now, by the same token, the Browns defense, what's his name, Miles Jack, they've been getting up in guys. And that could be scary for Roethlisberger because he don't move. That guy, we saw him run one time this season, and it was like watching the Tin Man. It was like he was doing the robot down the field. Oh God, that was tough to watch. But I do think ultimately the Steelers have I like James Conner in this one. I like I said I like Juju. It'll be very interesting to see what Claypool does because I think Deontay Johnson is going to play. And if he does, Deontay Johnson's really kind of the X factor for me in terms of what we see out of Claypool this week. So if he plays, then that's going to, because I think Deontay Johnson's still going to line up on more plays than Claypool. I don't think they just hand the offense to Claypool. On the Brown side of the ball, listen, Kareem Hunt, obviously he's been spectacular. He's a great running back. Deontay is out. Well, if Deontay's out, then that's a great opportunity for Claypool. So we will see. And in fact, I think you can start either one, and they're probably going to do pretty well. And it'll be interesting to see who really gets the shots in this one because Big Ben isn't going to have a lot of time for guys to get open with that Browns defense. And the Browns also have a very skilled corner, and that skilled corner is going to probably be on Juju. And that being the case, that might actually swing things a little bit more back towards Claypool. It might be another Claypool week. This will be very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how it works out. Robert Tonyan, and Dalton Schultz are my tight ends. Am I doomed? Fuck no. I mean, here's the thing. Robert Tonyan, we don't know if he was a one-hit wonder or if he's the next George Kittle. We really don't, because there was no next game yet for Robert Tonyan. But he was one of those guys that's been targeted, but the cat's out of the bag with him now. And the Tampa Bay defense, they're an aggressive, they're like the number 3 scoring defense in fantasy football. So if they get this pressure, Robert Tonyan might end up having a good day because he would be the outlet pass. Dalton Schultz, obviously, Cowboys, I mean, it's tough to say if he has any kind of chemistry. Really, I mean, we saw a little bit of it last week, so we'll see if the Red Rifle's able to get him the ball. But, I mean, you're not doomed. I would only play Robert Tonyan. I would not play Dalton Schultz. I think, you know, I'm to be honest, I'm playing the Arizona Cardinals defense because I expect Dalton to do what backup quarterbacks do in their first start, which is throw a couple interceptions. Usually one of them's a pick six. Ebron, it could be a big, listen, Ebron's a guy that I've been waiting to get cooking. He got a little bit cooking right before they had to have that forced fucking bye week that they had to go on. So it could be a nice Ebron game. But again, Ebron is in that pile of tight ends that, yeah, they got the ability. Sure, they can do it, but we don't know who it's going to be. We don't know which week. It could be the Ebron week. And Ebron, let's face it, throughout his career, this guy's been known for having 1 3-touchdown game a year and then like 3 goose eggs throughout the rest of the season. So it could be the Ebron game. But know that if you rolling the dice, baby, you go, come on, daddy needs a 6-eye. You know, I mean, woo, that's tough. I mean, you're gambling on, listen, I'm gambling on Jimmy Graham. And because Jimmy Graham, at least we know he's a red zone target, but we also know that's all he is. There's no volume, there's none of that. But when you get to the red zone, then he gets shots. So I'm hitching my wagon to that because again, with these guys, you don't know who's going to get what one week. Now Kelsey's one of those, the big 3. Kelsey, Kittle, well, and really Waller. You can make a big 4, which is Kelsey, Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Waller. So those are the only 4 guys. If you ain't got one of those 4 guys, you're rolling dice. That's for sure. Ravens and Eagles. Let's talk about this Travis Fulgham guy. Because Travis Fulgham now, he is the wide receiver 1 by default. What's his name? Alshon Jeffrey's out. D-Jax is out. Everybody's out. He's the only guy left. But you're talking about a 3rd-string talent up against one of the best defenses in the league. I don't know. I think he gets beat up. I think he sees 13 targets, but I think he catches like 6. And I think it's for like a total of like 38 yards. I could see him getting really hurt. I could see Wentz sending the ball, flying the ball high, and him taking one right in the ribs. I don't like this game for Travis Fulgham. I don't like it for anybody, including Miles Sanders. Is he playing? I think he's playing. I don't like any of them in this particular game. And on the Ravens side of the ball, obviously you don't want to touch any of their running backs. I think Hollywood Brown. I think that connection is starting to start. But again, if you don't have to start him, don't start him. We want to see a little bit more consistency out of him. So really, obviously you have to play Lamar Jackson, but you don't know. This should be a great get right game. Lamar should run great. Everybody should, there should be a lot of opportunity for the Ravens offense in this one. Hollywood Brown, everybody. But Mark Andrews is the one must start for me in this entire picture for the Ravens. Must start Mark Andrews. Does Mike Davis completely disappear once CMC returns? Listen, that is the $1 million question. Because I've got CMC, and I'm really afraid that when he comes back, they're going to be like, look, Mike's going great. Let's just 50-50 it. Let's preserve CMC for down the stretch, try and make a playoff run. So I don't see Mike Davis completely disappearing. And I say that as someone who does not have Mike Davis, but does have CMC. So, I don't, that it sucks. But I don't see, what I do see it doing is making them both kind of in this hot hand scenario, which might work out really badly for both of them. But again, if Mike Davis, I always liked Mike Davis. I'm glad to see him get this kind of opportunity. which basically means he might wind up a starter for somebody else next year. Football team. Washington football team versus the Giants. Listen, I think this is bad juju for I like I like Terry McLaurin in this one. I like Kyle Allen in this one. I don't, the Giants, and I like Devontae Freeman. I like Freeman in this one because I think those are the guys that are going to be able to get some ground going against the Giants defense sucks. The Washington defense is not that bad. And in fact, in fantasy, you might want to play the Washington defense because the Giants have been giving up so much. So, but ultimately, I think Terry McLaurin is a safe play here. And I kind of like Kyle Allen to get the ball to him, not necessarily don't play Kyle Allen. I'm not saying that. But really, that's a toilet bowl. That's the toilet bowl match right there. Falcons versus Vikings. Listen, line up both offenses. Line up everybody. Todd Gurley, Julio, Calvin Ridley, even Hayden Hurst for the Vikings. You might even see finally some Kyle Rudolph. You're going to play Kyle Rudolph. Play him this week because everybody should see, Alexander Madison. Dalvin Cook is officially ruled out. Alexander Madison should have a spectacular day. Justin Jefferson, Thielen, even... If you had to, if you need a replacement for some reason, yes, that nincompoop that throws the ball for the Vikings, whose name's escaping me right now. But him too. You like that? You like that? That guy. You know what I'm talking about. All right. But don't play other defense, but play all the offense. You got to slice that offense. If you have to stream a tight end, consider Rudolph this week because this is going to be a high-scoring affair, very little defense. Lions and the Jaguars, pretty much the exact same scenario. You have two really bad defenses and two pretty decent offenses. Again, I love Robinson in this one. Now, here's the thing. And everyone keeps going, what's wrong with DJ Chark? What's going on with... It's not DJ Chark. It's Gardner Minshew. He specifically throws at second coverage. He hates to throw at whoever the top coverage is. That's why, if DJ goes out, don't play Keelan Cole. If DJ's in, play Keelan Cole. If DJ's out, don't play Keelan Cole because he's going to draw wide receiver one coverage, which means that whoever is wide, whether it's Conley or LaVisca Chenault, that's when those guys are going to really flourish. So it's kind of just a down the ladder thing, and that's why it's Gardner Minshew. Cousins, thank you, Kirk Cousins, yes. Kirk McSquirt, exactly, that piece of shit, whatever. Thank you for cluing me in, guys, I appreciate that. But it's about Gardner Minshew and his fear of throwing at coverage one. Whoever is wide receiver coverage one, he doesn't throw at that guy. That's what we've seen over and over, and that's going to continue to hinder DJ Chark this entire season. Colts and Bengals, listen, man, I know Tyler Boyd is going to get stuffed up by Xavier Rhodes, T. Higgins, because we know Joey Burrow is going to throw. But I love the Colts defense in this one. They're going to sack him. They're going to get some interceptions on him. They're going to have I think the Colts defense is probably going to be the biggest point scorer in this whole thing. If you want somebody streaming in daily fantasy, you got $6 left or whatever, T. Higgins. Because Joey Burrow is going to throw. And it's going to be... T. Higgins is the only one that's really going to be open. So, on the Colts side of the ball, listen, you know who you're going with on the Colts side of the ball. You're definitely not going to play Phillip Rivers. You're definitely going to play whoever is... who do they even have left? What's his name's called? I don't know. But I think the Colts defense... They're the guys to play in that one. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor should have a pretty decent game, but he's kind of tapered off. So Naheem Hines might be a great play here, but really, it's really about that Colts defense. They're the guys that I think are really going to run it home during that particular game. Bears and Panthers, we already talked about these guys. Don't play Foles, play A-Rob. People keep saying David Montgomery's you're gonna have to show me. I just don't think he's that good, man. Although, he had a decent game last week, but the Panthers, they're starting to feel in themselves. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I think against the spread, I like the Panthers. Dolphins at the Jets, listen, you know what to do. You know who I really like in this one? Gesicki. I think Gesicki has a great game. And this brings us to the title of the week. Woo! Listen, the Jets, and another genius move that only the Jets can do. They keep a coach who's 0-5 and let him fire a running back they spent $28 million on. You tell me, man, because I don't know. But we saw this earlier in the year with Jacksonville where they jettisoned Fournette, and all of a sudden this Robinson kid comes along, and he's fucking dynamite. They've already said you can't expect a 37-year-old Frank Gore to be your bell cow back, which means it is LaMichael Perine time. Perine now. But is Perine, what's he going to do? Is he any good? I've watched him run a couple runs now, and I'll be real honest, he didn't look that great. I still picked him up just in case he's the next James Robinson. They obviously see something in him good enough to get rid of Le'Veon Bell. But what we might find, it was just a pure ego trip on the part of Adam Gase, and that's the only reason they got rid of fucking Le'Veon Bell, and Michael Perine is just okay. He might wind up on the David Montgomery pile. But I can't wait to find out, and I went in and put him on one of my squads just in case he's the next James Robinson. Singletary, a solid RB2 flex the rest of the season. He looks like it. He's shaping up like it. They're certainly giving. And Zach Moss can't seem to stay on the field. The chemistry seems to be there for Singletary. To me, he's right there with James Robinson. He seems to be getting the touches. He's going to have good games. He's going to have some not so good games. So, yes, to me, RB2 flex, rest of the season, especially since they did not get Le'Veon Bell, I think Singletary is a comfortable RB2 flex. But again, what do I know? I'm just, you know what? I'm with you guys. I'm just watching everything, trying to piece it together. And let's face it, for all the stats and facts and figures that these guys put out there, they get it wrong all the time, too. Okay? I was there that week that they said, oh, yeah, you got to play Minshew, and he fucking went out there and ate a dick. So, listen, for all, you know what? Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie about the past. What they don't do is tell you exactly what's going to happen in the future. And what I do is I'm looking for those energies. I'm looking for those emotional pulls. I'm looking for reasons to win and reasons to lose. You know, who's on the upswing? Who's on the downswing? The mojo, baby. King Mo is in the house. That's what I'm looking for. Which brings us to the Packers versus the Buccaneers. This game, I think, is going to be a more defensive game than people think. And I think the first half is going to be a very run-heavy day for both teams. Ton of Rojo. Don't be surprised if there's a Fournette sighting, because now all of a sudden he's back. And Aaron Jones. And a little Jamal Williams. I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Aaron, heavy dose of Rojo, a dash of Jamal Williams, and a dash of Leonard Fournette. Now, what I love about this game is the fact that these cocky motherfuckers keep poking the bear with Brady. And if it's one thing we've seen throughout the ages, is that there is no better Brady than angry Brady. I love angry Brady. Because, man, he's you know, much like we saw with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, he finds a way to win. He finds a way to put it down your fucking throat. And this is the week he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin back and healthy. I think the second half is going to be straight fireworks. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I think Aaron Rodgers, 3 TDs, 300-plus yards, no interceptions. Brady, 2 to 3 TDs, definitely 1 interception. That's the way it looks to me, and I think all of that happens in the second half. I think the first half is a lot of run. And the one thing that we're not really thinking, I mean, this Buccaneers defense is great, and their pass rush is particularly good, and that's the one thing that has been slowing down Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's what makes it such a run-heavy game in the first half, because I think that defense makes Rodgers very uncomfortable, and I think that's what maybe brings his numbers down. But I think in the second half, both of them, they take the cap off and start slinging away, and it'll be very exciting to watch, because with Brady, it's either going to be 2 touchdowns, interception, 285 yards, or 4 touchdowns, 500 yards, but I still think it's an interception. Yes, that's right. Angry headbutting Brady can be very dangerous. And again, you had fucking Jamal Williams out there saying stupid shit like, well, my quarterback knows what down it is. Listen, he was already angry that he made that mistake. He was mad at himself. And then these jackwads are just throwing gasoline on the fire. Ooh, listen, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, but nobody calls him the GOAT. The GOAT is Tom Brady. And you just pissed off the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it. Tannehill or Minshew, Tannehill all day, twice on Sunday. I don't even think that's a choice. I mean, Minshew's, again, he's kind of back to form and doing pretty good again. But, well, he does have that choice matchup against the Lions. But Tannehill, you know, I like Tannehill. I think Tannehill, the consistency's been there, and I think Tennessee has got what are they, 2 o'clock versus the. Ooh, let's see. Where are you, Tennessee? Where are you? Sunday morning game. Oh, versus the Texans. Oh yeah, stick with Tannehill. Juju or Will Fuller. Ooh, yeah, baba. Well, the problem with Will Fuller is he's going to be drawing Bayard over at the Titans, who's a very strong corner. So, I mean, and Juju, well, I mean, Steelers versus the Browns. He's going to draw, who's that guy? They drafted him really early. He's going to draw tough coverage as well. Okay, Jason, it's you go with your gut, but for me, Juju. Because I think Ben will have a little bit more time to throw than Deshaun Watson's going to have going up against the Titans. Fitzpatrick going to collapse soon. Absolutely. But, I mean, it's hard. Okay. Yes, Claypool is getting a lot of, but again, we're going to find out. Is he a one-hit wonder or is he the truth? We're all going to find out together this week. I'm not declaring the one way or the other. I'm interested to see two. We've just had so many one-hit wonders. Every single weekend, there's a one-hit wonder, and we'll see whether or not it was Claypool. Well, because now the defense is looking for him. He ain't sneaking past nobody now. Everybody's heard Claypool. You think that defense hasn't been going, you don't let him fucking get 4 touchdowns this week. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. Now, in terms of the Fitzpatrick collapse, this is absolutely the week that he should collapse because he's against the Jets, a team he should beat the shit out of, and that is when Fitzpatrick eats a dick. He goes out and surprises. When you think he's going to eat a dick, he throws 5 touchdowns. And then you're all like, oh my God, he's the greatest. And then he eats the dick. This is classic Fitzpatrick. Yes, Senior Sweatpants, I do believe this is going to be the collapse week, but maybe not. I mean, on paper, he should have a dynamite week. He should have a phenomenal week, which means everybody's going to start him, which means he's going to disappoint. That's just who he is. So yes, the cold streak is coming for Fitzpatrick, and I think by week 8 we finally turn the corner and finally see some Tua time. And that's what I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he's the next Mahomes. I think he's got a terrific physical combination, and I just can't wait to see it get going. But Fitzpatrick keeps having these random great games that I thought last week was the week. I thought San Francisco goes in there, that defense pressures him, shuts him down, sacks him a few times, and then then Tua time, and of course he goes off. Well, a good question. What the hell is going on with Jimmy G? You know what? Obviously, that ankle wasn't ready. He couldn't put any power on it. He looked fucking garbage. But they're starting him again this week, so he must have healed up a little bit. He must have looked better in practice because they fucking benched his ass. And I think it was on them. I think the coaches felt like it was on them. Like, yep, not ready, too soon. Let's pull him before he hurts it even more. Give him another week to heal. But obviously, they've seen enough in practice to say that he can get it done. So I'm interested to see what he can get to. But again, I wouldn't put too much stock in it based on what we saw last week. Falcons at Giants, that's another one. Play all the offense. We talked about that. Oh, yeah, let me scroll back down. So, back Dolphins at Jets. On paper, again, I want to see Michael Perine, see what he can do. Dolphins, I mean, you want to fire up you want to fire up everybody. Gaskin, Gesicki. I think Gesicki could have a marvelous week this week. And again, is this the Fitzpatrick Crumble week? It shouldn't be, which means it is. Packers, Buccaneers, we just covered that. Rams at Niners. I mean, listen, this is a tough rebound week for the Niners because the Rams defense is playing lights out. They're playing great. But again, they should just hand the ball. Mostert is electric. Why they don't just give the ball to Mostert every fucking play, I will never know. Just hand the ball to fucking Mostert. That's all you're going to do. Everything else will happen after that. But no, they got to fucking try a little of this. Now, Debo, I mean, they're the number one pass defense, so you can't start Debo Samuel. You can't start Ayuk. All those guys should be on the bench. Kittle, you have to start, But they're going to still give a couple touches to fucking McKinnon, and they're still going to give some to Jeff Wilson, and they should just give the ball to fucking Mostert. But the Rams on the other side, I mean, Darrell Henderson, here I thought he had fucking fallen off the cliff, and then he came out and had an incredible game last week. So, but this Niners defense, expect Darrell Henderson to float back down to earth, expect the passing game to pick up. I like Jared Goff in this one. I like the receivers in this one, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I expect those guys to have pretty decent days. But if anything, I would play the Rams defense, and I would not necessarily play the Niners defense because they've been getting burned. They have so many injuries. Is it safe to say that Wentz has been overhyped the last 2 years? Oh my God, yes. Every time they're like, because he had that first, run of games where he was incredible, but he's never been able to put it together since. I think Wentz is, I hated him going into this season. I hate him going out of this season. I think they absolutely, but Nick Foles has proven not to be that much better anyway. So, that's on them. But yes, Wentz, I don't know. He's never going to be Dak Prescott. But then again, Dak Prescott may never be Dak Prescott again. But I think he will be. I'm not saying that he won't be. I think he will be. But that injury, you're going to admit. Chiefs and Bills. Listen, I know that the Chiefs defense has been playing great, but this Bills offense, listen, they got beat last week because they were playing on Tuesday. Tuesday's traditionally a day off for these guys. That's their Sunday. I think this kid was just completely out of whack. I think their timing, is energy, the ramp up, I think everything about it was out of whack. I think they take this opportunity to get back on whack. They get the whack back in it. So look for that one. I like both offenses, don't like the both defenses. Because Bills' defense has been very, very leaky. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to get going. Although, it's going to be tough for CEH. Listen, play CEH, and I'll tell you why. He's got to make a statement for his job, and he knows it. He needs to go out there and prove that he's the same guy he was in week 1. So either he shows up or he doesn't. I would play CEH, and what he definitely sees as a chance to plant the flag and say, fuck you, Le'Veon Bell. I'm RB1 on this team. But it's going to be tough against that Bills defense. But obviously, you're going to play Kelsey. You're going to play Tyreek, all those guys. You have to. You got to play him even against the Bills. Again, a defense that I thought was going to be spectacular and has proven to be pretty leaky. And then Cardinals versus my beautiful Dallas Cowboys. Listen, let's be honest. Dalton, he's the Mike Davis of quarterbacks. He is the best backup quarterback. Oh, play Antonio Gibson. That's the guy that I think is really going to have a great day in that game. I forgot about that thought. Play Antonio Gibson. I think he runs through the fucking Giants defense like it's Swiss cheese. Now, Cardinals versus Cowboys, on the upside, they got to go back to Zeke. They got to make, which is what really is preventing them from winning games, is them not giving the ball enough to Zeke. I think they have to give the ball to Zeke now. I expect a very Zeke-heavy day. I love Zeke in this one with the receiving. I think CeeDee Lamb is still dependable. I think Gallup is going to see an uptick. Amari Cooper is probably going to be the one, but again, he has a week to work on it. And if you have Amari Cooper, you got to play your studs. You still got to put him out there. With the Cardinals, I think Chase Edmonds just looks better, but you know what? Don't get rid of Drake, because I promise you, the second they start giving the ball to Chase Edmonds with regularity on first and second down, he's going to do what all running backs have done this year, get hurt. So don't get rid of Drake. Just keep him on your bench. But I think you can. I think Chase Edmonds has a monster day. DeAndre Hopkins, monster day. And of course, Kyler Murray has a monster day, and I think this is going to be a far more offensive than defensive game, and so I think that most of these players, you're going to see a lot of action. Dalton Schultz, I mean, a lot of mouths to feed, but you never know, he could wind up being the safety net for for Dalton, and they got that double D, the Dalton to Dalton connection. Don't be surprised if something that gimmicky actually ends up showing up. Hopkins absolutely is going to go off this weekend. I don't think Dallas, and Dallas has this stupid thing about not putting Diggs, who's clearly our best corner, on their number one receiver. For some reason, they'll leave Worley on him, and it's a disaster. So yes, Hopkins should feast on Monday night. And I hate to say that. And I like the Cardinals' defense as a sneaky play because, again, backup quarterbacks tend to throw interceptions. They just do. The timing's not 1,000% there. It's his first start. I think absolutely we're going to see some interceptions. That's just life. All right, guys. That's me. I'm spent. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Google Play. Fantasy Football, Harsh Reality. Follow me, Greg Romero Wilson. Oh, and one last thing, guys. And this is very serious. This is not a joke. I did a documentary about my sister called The Girl Who Died 3 Times. It's available on YouTube. It's about my sister, Sarah. She also, so you can find it on all my social media, at Greg Romero Wilson on Instagram and Facebook, or at The Greg Wilson on Twitter or YouTube. And you can find the documentary that I did about my sister. And also we're doing a GoFundMe because she has to have a kidney transplant surgery. For one of myself or one of my other brothers will have to donate their kidney because of her very unique physical conditions. So if you can, please enjoy those. The documentary is going to freak you the fuck out. All of everything she says. Part 1 is up now. Tuesday, part 2 will be up. So please check that out. Give to the GoFundMe if you can, or share it on your social media. I'm Greg Romero Wilson. This has been Fantasy Football Harsh Reality.